Rock Island Milan School District has adopted EngageNY as the primary English language arts curriculum resource, beginning in the 2016-2017 school year. The new Illinois Learning Standards, also known as Common Core State Standards, drive our district curriculum. This video provides you an overview of the resources Rock Island Milan School District has adopted to ensure greater student achievement in the area of English language arts. Beginning in the 2016-2017 school year, EngageNY is the primary resource we have adopted at Rock Island Milan School District 41. For teachers in grades kindergarten through 2nd grade, EngageNY uses the core knowledge approach to instruction. This is a different approach than what you have been doing for daily instruction. However, the research clearly states the importance of this core knowledge integration, and it matches the needs of our Rock Island Milan School District students. The entire kindergarten through 2nd grade resource is based on this core knowledge approach. This core knowledge approach is entirely based on the fact that many underachieving students do not have the background knowledge and vocabulary to achieve success in later grades. Within this resource for kindergarten through 2nd grade are 2 strands: listening and learning, and the skills strand. Much of what you will hear stated in this video on the core knowledge approach comes directly from the Lieben and Lieben white paper research. The idea behind core knowledge is simple and powerful. Knowledge builds on knowledge. The more you know, the more you are able to learn. This insight, well established by cognitive science, has profound implications for teaching and learning. Nearly all of our most important goals for education, greater reading comprehension, the ability to think critically and solve problems, even higher test scores, are a function of the depth and breadth of our knowledge. By outlining the precise content that every child should learn in language arts and literature, history and geography, mathematics, science, music, and the visual arts, the core knowledge curriculum represents a first-of-its-kind effort to identify the foundational knowledge every child needs to reach these goals and to teach it, grade by grade, year by year, in a coherent, age-appropriate sequence. Just as with all resources, it is important to use this resource with fidelity. We are dedicated to the idea that every child deserves a rigorous, lively, and coherent education. Additional information is located here: www.coreknowledge.org/learn-about-us. Kindergarten through 2nd grade teachers will drive this focus on developing background knowledge and vocabulary in the listening and learning portion of this resource. It is in the skills portion that much of what you have typically taught is detailed. In the listening and learning strand are domains. In the skills strand are units. We will get into further details on both of those in the near future. The 4 questions that should always drive all conversations, also known as our professional learning communities, are the following. What is it we want students to learn? How will we know when they have learned it? How will we respond when some students do not learn? And how will we respond when some students already know it? With this English language arts adoption, EngageNY provides us with the information and details to guide us in our daily instruction, the intervention and extension activities, collaboration, and decision making. What is it we want students to learn? The state standards. We have prioritized these by quarter. How will we know they have learned it? Assessments, both formative and summative, are to be used. How will we respond when some students do not learn? Remediation suggestions and materials are provided. And how will we respond when some students already know it? Extension suggestions and materials are provided. To find the full Engage New York file for kindergarten, first, and second grade, use the following link: www.engageny.org. Click on the specific grade level under English Language Arts. You can also go directly to the noted links on this slide for the specific grade level English Language Arts content. Once on the specifically identified grade level, navigate through the blue linked phrases. The two top priority links to review and refer to are the General Overview. This provides a summary of the full resource, and the grade level English Language Learner Curriculum Map. This area is where you will find the details needed to review for your daily instruction. The Teaching and Learning site will have the curriculum map plan on a page or pages that simply is a summary of the full quarter. It is in this section, the Engage New York Curriculum Map section, where you will find the day-to-day details for instruction. We will be working on downloading all of these resources to our own website. This way, we will always have the needed resources to implement Engage New York. Once this is complete, we will notify. After clicking on the specific grade level English Language Arts Curriculum Map link, you will be taken to this web page. On this web page, you will find both online and PDF versions of the various curriculum map resources needed to teach Engage New York. The online version is located here. The PDF versions are located here. These resources include sequence of listening and learning domains, the grade level listening and learning detailed scope and sequence, and the kindergarten through second grade skills scope and sequence. As it's stated on this web page, the Core Knowledge Language Arts Listening and Learning Strand is designed to help students build the background knowledge and vocabulary critical to listening and reading comprehension. The decoding skills needed for future independent reading are taught separately in the Core Knowledge Language Arts Skills Strand. The two strands complement each other, building their requisite decoding and comprehension skills that compromise fluent, mature reading. The teaching of the two strands, however, need not be correlated. For example, teachers may provide instruction on a given unit of the skills strand as needed, while moving on to new topics and anthologies in the listening and learning strand, and to practice. The top area to focus on in the curriculum map area is in the left side area. This is where you will find the specifics for each strand, listening and learning strand versus the skills strand. By clicking on each of these strands, you will find the details needed for your daily instruction. Let's dive into the strands one at a time. The skills strand is one of two strands in Engage New York for kindergarten through second grade. The skills strand is all about phonemic awareness. This includes phonics, word work, fluency, etc. A reminder, the skills strand provides units of instruction. Within each unit are individual lessons. The skills strand addresses foundational reading skills through a series of appealing, leveled student books and carefully crafted instructional materials. The materials engage students in the sound symbol relationships of the English language through study, games, songs, and activities. The text complexity demands of the standards make the development of accurate and automatic decoding abilities in these early grades even more essential as students will be asked to read significantly more complex text once they enter third grade and ever after. The core knowledge approach in Engage New York through the skills strand is a strategically designed, carefully sequenced foundational program with frequent built-in opportunities to assess student progress and adjust instruction accordingly. The district expects all students to achieve this level of proficiency. Those students who do not reach proficiency levels on the first exposure to the foundations of reading will need more exposures and experiences. Otherwise, they risk becoming the students reading 5 or more years below grade level in high school, the ones who rarely graduate. It is imperative to stop this cycle and reverse the cumulative effects of early reading problems. The skills strand is to be taught daily for 60 minutes. In this skills strand are included a teacher's guide with daily lessons already provided online. We strongly recommend not printing the full unit, but referencing the online version and printing only the lessons you are teaching at that time. Also included in the skills strand is a student workbook. The Engage New York skills strand units are massive in size. A team of teachers from Rock Island Milan School District have condensed the full Engage New York units into specifically identified areas. These provide a more organized manner for you to teach from. The specific identified areas condensed include a student workbook per unit that follows the lesson guide, a family letter homework packet. The family packet is condensed by units and includes what parents or guardians need to assist their children at home. A binder for each grade level of all needed student materials will be sent to each building. These packets will also be uploaded on the Teaching and Learning website. Because these condensed packets have been created, again, we strongly request you not print the full units. There are many extras that have been identified as not needed for these skills strand units in the online resources. The assessment and remediation guide does not need to be printed. The information you need will all be included in the teacher's guide. The teacher's guide is available for reference online. And finally, the pacing calendar layout provides you with a yearly plan of each skills strand unit for the lessons to be taught each day. The pacing is rigorous. It is important you stay true to the pacing guide. There are little to no breaks in daily instruction with Engage New York. On this slide are noted the specific timeframes needed for daily instruction on only the skills strand. As you can see, all 3 grades, kindergarten, first, and second, use 60 minutes for daily instruction on the skills strand. Within the skills strand, online materials provide further specifics. Again, the skills strand is to be covered daily for 60 minutes. This time frame goes for kindergarten, first, and second grade students. The purpose of the district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages is to provide a summary of the expectations of Engage New York by quarter. The intent of the district curriculum map plan on a page or pages is not to provide all the details of day-to-day instruction. The Engage New York online resource will provide this for you. Let's spend some time explaining the district-created English Language Arts curriculum map plan on a page or pages. These district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages are only a summary of the full quarter. The detailed curriculum maps are found on Engage New York. The district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages are located on the Teaching and Learning website. Go to the Rock Island School website, click on Curriculum, hover on Language Arts, then ELA Curriculum Maps, Quarter 1, and select the grade level and Strand. The documents on the Teaching and Learning website again are only a summary by quarter. The details of your day-to-day instruction are located on the Engage New York website. Again, the detailed curriculum maps are located here on Engage New York. After clicking on your grade level, click on one of the strands on the left side to find the details for your day-to-day instruction. Let's start with the kindergarten through second grade skills strand, curriculum map, plan on a page. These are the documents located on the Teaching and Learning website under Curriculum and Language Arts. At the top left is listed the unit name and number of days to spend on this specific skills strand unit. As a reminder, the skills strands use units of instruction. The next section details the standards of this skills unit. The standards cross over multiple content areas. It is important that this resource be used with fidelity so cross-curricular connections are made. The third section of this plan on a page lists examples of the types of formative and summative assessments for this particular skills unit. Formative assessments are those an educator uses to inform further instructional needs. The focus of formative assessments is on measuring the student's development at that given time. Summative assessments are those used to evaluate a student's performance at the conclusion of a defined instructional unit. This focus is on measuring what the student learned. Next is where the name of the Reader Big Book is identified. In this example, this unit does not include a Reader Big Book. Next is the area that provides you with the specific phonics and reading components, as well as grammar focus for this specific skills strand unit. Last is the area that provide a summary for both spelling and writing. These areas detail the focus in spelling and writing for this skills strand unit. Next is the listening and learning strand. The listening and learning strand is all about read-alouds, student discussion, and vocabulary. The listening and learning strand assists strongly in building student background knowledge. As the skills strands use units of instruction, the listening and learning strand uses domains. In this strand, teachers read aloud rich texts, while students engage in a range of speaking and listening activities. Students have the opportunity to build knowledge within and across topics, and teachers have the opportunity to guide or to act as guides to the world for their students. It is important to remember that the new Illinois Learning Standards insist on a wide range of text types, as well as using more complex texts. Reading Standard 10 is a standard in all grades beginning in second grade. This standard focuses on reading at grade level. Reading, whether instructed, heard through read-alouds, or accessed independently, cannot be limited to just informational text, stories, poems, or any type of text. This broadened definition of text types is an opportunity to engage all learners in every classroom as they discover the universe of text types and topics. There is far more opportunity inherent in Standard 10 which is reading at grade level, then students exercising their own full range of reading choices. There is room within it to return the reading of scientific topics and social studies to the early elementary classroom, to allow early childhood educators to bring the wider world into their own classrooms. This is cause for celebration. Implementing Reading Standard 10 fully requires that both time and space be created for extending reading across the curriculum. The Listening and Learning Strand fulfills Standard 10, reading at grade level, in just this way. It also allows room for what may be obvious by now. If all students are going to be capable readers of grade level complex text by third grade, teachers in the early grades need more time and space within the school day to address the full spectrum of reading skills and abilities of their students. If part of the daily instruction also provides part of the daily social studies, arts, and science instruction, then teachers can feel assured they are giving their students both the time they need to become a solid reader and exposure to the world of ideas they need to build strong foundations in the content disciplines. An additional benefit to doing so is that it also ensures teachers are fulfilling the mix of informational text to literary text 50-50 called for by the new Illinois Learning Standards in English Language Arts in the elementary grades. The Listening and Learning Strand brings the world inside the early elementary classroom in a rich way. It allows all children to learn a wide array of knowledge about the artistic, historical, literary, and scientific spheres. The reading activities are designed carefully to build on one another and create a coherent knowledge base for all children. The materials do not presume a large pool of background knowledge for children, nor do they oversimplify their language or their content. Instead, they expose all children to rich academic language while they open doors to experiences and ideas all children deserve to think about, and all teachers deserve the time and opportunity to share with their students. The Listening and Learning Strand is to be covered daily for various times in each grade level. This time frame is specific in the next slide. As a reminder, the Listening and Learning Strand provides domains, where the Skills Strand provides units. These two strands happen daily, but they have different pacing. There are instructional components from each strand that make up the full instructional time. These two strands, the Skills Strand versus the Listening and Learning Strand, along with guided reading, will make up the bulk of your English Language Arts block each day. Within this Listening and Learning Strand are the following. Anthology, Tell It Again, is your daily teacher guide for the Listening and Learning Strand. Within the Teacher Daily Lesson Plan are the daily lessons for you to use. In addition, are included pausing points. These pausing points are a time for review and reinforcement, or a time for extension of the core content, along with an emphasis on vocabulary. A domain review is also included in the teacher daily lesson plans. In this domain review is time provided to review or reinforce material. The domain assessments included in this section provide time for understanding and retention of vocabulary specifically. Lastly, the culminating activities provide time for remediation or enrichment based on the student assessment scores. Next is included the domain schedule. This shows a domain overview by week. Each domain is approximately 3 weeks. The last item in the anthology is the domain assessment. This is the assessment given to all students at the end of each domain. A flipbook or chart is a series of pictures that go along with the daily lesson. Image cards are provided for extension activities. The image cards may not be needed daily. These are only used when providing extension. Teachers of gifted and talented students should be using these resources at all times. The supplemental guide is to be used by teachers of students in special education, English Learner Program, Title Services, and at times the General Education Program. Lastly is the pacing calendar layout. This is identical to what we showed you in the skills strand. However, unlike the skills strand, the listening and learning domains are color-coded. We will go into more detail in future slides. A reminder, the pacing calendar provides you with a yearly plan of each skills strand unit for the lesson to be taught each day. The pacing is rigorous. It is important you stay true to the pacing guide. There are little to no breaks in daily instruction with EngageNY. On this slide are noted the specific time frames needed for daily instruction on only the listening and learning strand. The time frames are broken up as follows. Kindergarten has a total of 50 minutes broken into two segments, one for 35 minutes, the other for 15 minutes. These two time frames mirror each other. Within the first 35 minutes, you are introducing the read aloud, then presenting the read aloud, and ending with discussing the read aloud. In the next 15 minutes, you either repeat these steps, but do so at a much quicker pace, or provide extension activities. This depends on the specific lesson. First grade has a total of 60 minutes broken into two segments of 40 minutes and 20 minutes. Like kindergarten, these two time frames mirror each other. Within the first 40 minutes, you are introducing the read aloud, then presenting the read aloud, and ending with discussing the read aloud. In the next 20 minutes, you either repeat those steps but do so at a much quicker pace, or provide extension activities. Again, this depends on the specific lesson. Lastly, second grade has a total of 60 minutes, broken in the same way as first grade, 40 minutes and then 20 minutes. Like kindergarten and first grade, these two time frames mirror each other. Within the first 40 minutes, you are introducing the read aloud, then presenting the read aloud, and ending with discussing the read aloud. In the next 20 minutes, you either repeat these steps, but again, do so at a much quicker pace, or provide extension activities. This depends on the specific lesson. In the middle of the domain is a pausing point. At this time, the teacher checks for student understanding. The specifics are different depending on the grade level. At the end of each domain, there are 3 days for wrap-up. These 3 days include a domain review, domain assessment, and culminating activities. Again, the pausing points are a time for review and reinforcement or an extension of the core content, with an emphasis on vocabulary. The domain review is included in the teacher lesson plan, and it's a time provided to review or reinforce material. The domain assessments included in this section provide time for understanding and retention of vocabulary. Lastly, the culminating activities provide time for remediation or enrichment based on the student assessment scores. The purpose of the district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages is to provide a summary of the expectations of EngageNY by quarter. The intent of the district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages is not to provide all of the details for day-to-day instruction. The EngageNY online resource will provide this day-to-day detail for instruction. Let's spend some time explaining the district-created English Language Arts curriculum map plan on a page or pages for the listening and learning strand. In this listening and learning plan on a page or pages, the top left section states the specific domain number, name, and number of days expected to teach this specific domain. Next are the specific domain standards. Just as in the skills unit, it is important to teach this domain with fidelity so cross-curriculum connections are made. The third section lists examples of the types of both formative and summative assessments for this particular skills unit. Formative assessments, again, are those an educator uses to inform further instructional needs. The focus of formative assessments is on measuring the student's development at that given time. Summative assessments are those used to evaluate student performance at the conclusion of a defined instructional unit. The focus of summative assessments is on measuring what the student ultimately learned. At the bottom of this page are the essential learning outcomes and essential questions specific to this domain. The essential learning outcomes, or objectives, sometimes referred to as ELOs, are the essential skills needed for students to achieve, to demonstrate learning. The essential questions are questions that probe for deeper meaning and set the stage for further questioning. Essential questions help foster critical thinking skills and higher order capabilities such as problem solving and understanding complex information. The second page shows the specific trade books required for this domain. The district will be purchasing these trade books. In every EngageNY grade level, we have added an accompanying literacy design collaborative task. This is also known as LDC. You will not find this LDC task on EngageNY. This is a Rock Island Milan School District chosen supplement. Each identified LDC task directly relates to the grade level theme. As you see here in this example, an LDC task is not completed in kindergarten during quarter 1. The areas in red on this page are the additional resources for this specific domain. The unit links or extensions provide additional student resources to assist in further learning. This area also includes additional teacher resources to use to extend the learning in this domain. This may include field trips. The additional resources or materials section provides the teacher with further ideas on texts to use to further their learning and understanding. This area will be expanded on as we continue our journey in cultural competence as a district. The top right section shares a summary of things to consider when planning for differentiated instruction. This is not an all-encompassing list of considerations, but simply a summary of things the teacher needs to consider when analyzing the needs for differentiation in the classroom. It is important that teachers collaborate and discuss ideas. General education teachers and teachers of special education, English learners, and gifted students should all be collaborating and communicating often to brainstorm ways to assist students with their individual learning needs. The Target Academic Vocabulary section provides a list of specific words that are the focus in that specific domain. Academic vocabulary is a focus throughout the New Illinois Learning Standards and is to be a daily instructional focus. Lastly is the area that shares supporting resources or materials for this specific domain. This area will continue to be developed as we implement in year 1. We have provided you detailed information about both the EngageNY online resources and the district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages. Now let's show you specific examples of the EngageNY resources we have spoken about previously. This is an example of the Skills Strand Teacher's Guide. When finding your grade level Skills Strand materials, they are organized in this way. Kindergarten has a red left border, first grade has a yellow left border, second grade has a green left border. In this teacher's guide are the daily lessons. These are provided online. We strongly recommend you only print what you need on a day-to-day basis. Reminder, the skills strand provide units of instruction. Within each unit are individual lessons. The skills strand addresses foundational reading skills through a series of appealing leveled student books and carefully crafted instructional materials. The materials engage students in the sound-to-symbol relationships of the English language through study, games, songs, and activities. This table of contents is an overview of the entire unit, specific to the lessons, including the pausing points. In the skills strand, they provide pausing points, but time is limited to get these pausing points in. Therefore, you do not see pausing points in the pacing calendar layout we have provided and will show later. In EngageNY, pausing points provide an opportunity to spend time reviewing, reinforcing, and extending the material taught. A reminder, we are still in the skills strand area. This is the alignment chart. Each grade and unit in kindergarten through second grade has a specific alignment chart. This chart matches the district-created curriculum map plan on a page or pages by quarter. This alignment chart provides specific information on what standards are the priority versus what standards are additional and supporting. This is the unit weekly layout. The resource provides multiple weeks on one page. We have pulled out one of those weeks to show as an example here. Each day shows the lesson to be taught. Lesson objectives are provided in the teacher's guide. The lesson objectives are covered under each lesson and give you an overview of the entire lesson. This also provides you with a breakdown of how to use the allotted 60 minutes of daily instructional time in this specific strands for skills strand. This is an example of the lesson plan. This is what you would read from to teach students. This is the area that shows if there is homework tied to that specific lesson. The Appendix Summary gives an overview of what you would be teaching for the entire year. This is broken down by skill. Also included in the Skills Strand is the student workbook. The EngageNY Skills Strand units are massive in size. A team of teachers from Rock Island Milan School District have condensed the full EngageNY units into specifically identified areas. This provided a more organized manner for you to teach from. The specific identified areas condensed include a student workbook per unit that follows the lesson guide, and a family letter or homework packet. The family packet is condensed by units and includes what parents or guardians need to assist their children at home. A binder for each grade level of all needed student materials will be sent to each building. These packets will also be uploaded on the Teaching and Learning website. Because these condensed packets have been created, we strongly request you not print the full units. There are a lot of extras that have been identified as not being needed for these skills strand units. Remember, when finding your grade level resource, each grade has a different color left side border. Kindergarten is red, first grade is yellow, second grade is green. A group of teachers created a packet. A master copy will be given to each building. This is what the homework or take-home letters look like for parents and guardians. This is an example of what the homework is that is attached to the parent letter. The assessment and remediation guide does not need to be printed. The information you need will all be included in the teacher's guide. The teacher's guide is available for reference online. This assessment and remediation guide is also available in full online. This is the full year layout of both strands, the skills strand and the listening and learning strand. This pacing calendar aligns to our district calendar. The pacing layout is district created and provides you with a yearly plan of each skills unit and listening and learning strand for the lessons to be taught each day. Again, the pacing is rigorous. It is important you stay true to the pacing guide. There are little to no breaks in instruction with Engage New York. The grade level is noted at the top of each pacing calendar. You see that in the top left corner. This screen highlights what is included in each month. Each day of the month shows the specific listening and learning domain lesson and the specific skills unit lesson to be taught that particular day. This is the full year layout of both strands, the skills and listening and learning. In this area, the skills are highlighted. Skills 1, L8, stands for Skills Unit 1, Lesson Number 8. At the bottom of each pacing calendar is a key that helps explain the document. LL stands for Listening and Learning, D for Domain, L for Lesson, and CUL-ACT stands for Culminating Activities. PP stands for Pausing Points, Skills for Skills Unit Strand. And lastly, TEACH, CH, stands for Teacher Choice. This is the full year layout of both strands for kindergarten specifically. This is the layout for first grade. This is the layout for second. We will provide all three layouts on our Teaching and Learning website. Now that we have shown specific examples of the skills strand, let's do the same with the listening and learning strand. A reminder, the listening and learning strand is all about read-alouds, student discussion, and vocabulary. This listening and learning strand assists strongly in building student background knowledge. The listening and learning strand provides domains where the skills strand provided units. Both strands happen daily but have different pacing. These two strands, the skills strand and the listening and learning strand, along with guided reading, will make up the bulk of your English Language Arts daily block. In the listening and learning strands, here is an example of the grade level anthology. Just as in the skills strand, each grade level has a different left side border color. Kindergarten is red, first grade is yellow, and second grade is green. The anthology, Tell It Again, is your daily teacher guide for the listening and learning strand. Within the teacher lesson plan are the daily lessons for you to use. In addition are included the pausing points. These pausing points are a time for review and reinforcement or an extension of the core content with an emphasis on vocabulary. The domain review is included in the teacher lesson plan and is time provided to review or reinforce material. The domain assessments included in this section provide time for understanding and the retention of vocabulary specifically. Lastly are included the culminating activities, which provide time for remediation or enrichment based on the student assessment scores. This is an example of the domain overview of what you would teach in order, including pausing points, the domain review, domain assessment, and culminating activities. Just as in the skills strand, each listening and learning domain will give you an overview of what is taught. This overview matches the district-created quarterly curriculum map plan on a page or pages. Here is the domain schedule. This shows a domain overview by week. Each domain is approximately 3 weeks. Each domain will give you an overview of the lesson's specific vocabulary. These words appear in read-alouds and in some instances in the Introduction to the Read-Aloud section. The bold-faced words are involved in word work activities. Most of the bolded vocabulary words are assessed in the domain assessment. This is an example of the lesson. Every lesson in the Listening and Learning strand starts with the lesson objective. In the top right corner, we'll state the lesson number. For example, 1A means the first lesson of the day. 1B means the second lesson of the day. This is the breakdown of your lesson. This shows the specific instructional time to be spent in each area of introducing the read aloud, of presenting the read aloud, and of discussing the read aloud. Here is an example of the introducing the read aloud section. The time allotment is noted in the top right corner. This is an example of the Presenting the Read Alouds teacher lesson guide. The image on the far left is what you show to students as you are presenting the read aloud. This is the read aloud image card from your flipbook or chart. The read aloud is not a book for students to read. Teachers use this picture to show students and the lesson to read from to the students. Students' focus must be on listening to the read aloud. The time allotment is noted in the top right corner. This is a wrap-up of the read aloud lesson called Discussing Read Alouds. However, there may be word work activities to follow up within this lesson. Again, the time allotment is noted in the top right corner. This is a family letter that goes home to parents or guardians. There are 2 family letters in the Listening and Learning strand. One is sent the first day the domain is taught. The other is sent home the day after the pausing point. These are the list of books the teacher can read aloud to students to provide further emphasis on that specific domain. These books reinforce the specific domain. One set of each domain per grade level will be provided to each building. Now we get to the assessment piece of the Listening and Learning strand. Typically, the domain assessment for kindergarten through 2nd grade is in 3 parts and covers various skills. Here is an example of the student answer sheet. These domain assessment student answer sheets may be on separate pages. There is a full day dedicated to assessment. Teacher directions are provided in each domain assessment student answer sheet. They are on the left side of this document. Students will get only the domain assessment sheet, exactly what is shown on this slide. Each of the 3 parts is coded in the top left corner. In this example, DA-1 is Domain Assessment Part 1. DA2 would be Domain Assessment Part 2, etc. This is an example of what the teachers say to students as they receive their domain assessment sheet. This is the teacher answer key for each domain. This is only for teacher use. This is an overview of the preschool through 2nd grade domain topics. This is a separate download in Engage New York. Sometimes things spiral from one grade to another. For example, fairy tales are taught in both kindergarten and 2nd grade. The human body is only taught in 1st and 2nd grades. This sequence makes the topics much more grade specific. The flipbooker chart is a series of pictures that go with the daily lesson. We recommend not printing these out, but rather getting online and using them on an overhead, smartboard, etc. These pictures go with the daily lessons. The image cards are extension activities. The image cards may not be needed daily. These are only used when providing extension. Our teachers of our gifted and talented students would most likely use these resources with their students often. This supplemental guide is a companion to the anthology. This guide is intended to be used by general education teachers, reading specialists, English as a second language or English learner teachers, and special education teachers seeking additional resources for classroom activities. The use of this guide is flexible and versatile and is to be determined by teachers to fit the unique circumstances and specific needs of their classroom and individual students. Teachers whose students would benefit from enhanced oral language practice may opt to use the supplemental guide as their primary guide for listening and learning. Teachers may also choose to begin a domain by using this supplemental guide as their primary guide before transitioning to the Tell It Again, Read Aloud anthology. This is the full year layout of both strands. The pacing calendar again aligns with our district calendar. This screen highlights what is included in each month. Each day of the month shows the specific listening and learning domain lesson and the specific skills unit lesson to be taught that specific day. The listening and learning strands are color-coded on this pacing calendar. As you can see, some listening and learning strands carry over between quarters. The skills strands are not color-coded. They are written within the color-coded boxes, but the colors go with the listening and learning strand. The listening and learning domains are color-coded. The domains are stated as LL for listening and learning, D1 for domain 1, and L4 for lesson 4. At the end of the domain, there are 3 days for wrap-up: the domain review, the domain assessment, and the culminating activity. Again, at the bottom of each pacing calendar is the key that helps explain the areas of the document. Here is the full year layout for kindergarten, the full year layout for first grade, and the full year layout for second grade. These are identical to what we showed in the skills strand. These documents will be located on the Teaching and Learning website. An area we know will need to be supplemented is in the area of writing. All teachers will need to supplement to include daily opportunities for students to write. Please ensure you refer to the priority standards to ensure you are incorporating all types of writing for students. Please also use the Literacy Design Collaborative Writing Rubrics the district adopted a few years ago. These rubrics are located on the Teaching and Learning website under Curriculum, Language Arts, and finally, Writing Rubrics. The writing rubrics are the source all teachers use to evaluate student performance on all writing tasks. All right, time to take a breath. We're almost done. Please take a moment and step back in reflection of Engage New York. This English Language Arts primary curriculum is all planned for you. There is no need to dig through other material. In fact, there is not time to bring in other material outside of enhancing writing. This Engage New York resource is taking the research off of your plate. The scope and sequence is planned out for you. Rather than spend time on various other websites and looking on other resource material, spend your time really digging into the online Engage New York resource. Read over the lessons so you know what to say and how each day will look, rather than research other ideas and materials. Use your teacher professional discretion on how you implement Engage New York within the parameters of ensuring fidelity. Binders will be created for each grade level in each school building. We will send these to each school building before school year begins. Again, we caution, please do not print all materials from Engage New York. Further research is available with overviews online. Again, we encourage you to read through the online resources, primarily the scope and sequence document and the lessons. Print out the curriculum maps that are located on the Teaching and Learning page that summarize the plan on a page or pages by quarter. Please do not print all documents from Engage New York. Rewatch this video as many times as needed, but do not spend your time looking for other materials, resources, or websites. Focus on diving in to Engage New York. Speak and collaborate with your colleagues. Read the research on Engage New York. Outside of www.engageny.org, another great resource for kindergarten through second grade is www.engageny.org/resource/Common Core Toolkit. Take a break from the material. Step aside, relax, and enjoy digging in to the Rock Island Milan School District primary resource for English Language Arts of Engage New York. We are excited to have adopted Engage New York as our primary English Language Arts curriculum resource. We will be providing future Rock Island College sessions as the school year begins, as well as offering optional grade level monthly professional learning community sessions to brainstorm ideas, share thoughts, answer questions, etc. We encourage you to collaborate with your colleagues as we implement Engage New York this coming school year. Thank you for your commitment to higher levels of student success throughout Rock Island Milan School District 41. Resources are available and will continue to be available on the Teaching and Learning website. rockislandschools.org, click on Teaching and Learning, then on Curriculum, and hover over Language Arts. Remember, we are in this together and are here to support one another as we move forward with this important work to enhance the learning of all students. Have fun as we implement Engage New York as our primary resource for English Language Arts. Now go get 'em! Celebrate this new engaging resource. Team with your colleagues. You make a difference.